Welcome back to our growing experiment. We're here with Lisa and Jay from Old McDonald's Family Farm. Do you guys want to tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Yeah. So again, I'm Lisa.
I'm Jay.
We own Old McDonald's Family Farm out in Laveen. Uh,
Started
yeah.
this adventure. Well, we started planning it about 3 years ago. So we both have a hospitality background.
Mhm.
We come from the south, I guess you would say, Niagara. So we ran hotels and restaurants out there for 10 years, mostly boutique hotels and fine dining restaurants and stuff.
Mhm.
And as we decided to have a family, just kind of our lifestyle was no longer fitting with our career. So we and it wasn't fulfilling anymore either. We'd been in it a long time and it just wasn't rewarding anymore. And we wanted to do something more that we enjoyed. But yet still, I guess, provide a hospitality experience because we love people.
Mhm.
And so we started planning it out. We provided 6 months notice to our jobs and planned out an agritourism farm.
Yeah.
That was the original plan.
The main thing was going to be, pumpkin patch events. That's what we were going to start with. We knew we wanted to do something year round in order to be sustainable and live off of this and be able to do it full time. But yeah, and then we got here and we were like, I don't know, well, we left in March of 2020 that was not in the plan. That obviously, I don't think the pandemic was in anybody's plan, but yeah, and then it became really, really difficult to source everything. But we've grown. We're year 3 growing. We're going into our second year of the CSA. Last year we did our first fall events and our first round of CSA.
I think the thing for us was that our focus kind of shifted. So we had this original plan of coming up here and offering just this agritourism attraction and being self-sufficient, being a homesteader and growing a little bit of produce for ourselves and attempting meat chickens and stuff to really just provide our family with more nutritious options and be more sustainable. And then when we got here, the pandemic was happening and it was kind of like, okay, well, listen, what's going on in the world right now? We don't really know what the future holds. And we saw that there were some gaps in food and stuff. And we're very people oriented, as we mentioned, and community driven, and we have the space to do it. So we really felt, you know what, let's try growing more vegetables for our community. Let's give more people that healthy option. And it wasn't really now about people coming to the farm and having a great time. It was more about how can we help give back and provide people with a sense of security, and then still kind of share the vision that we wanted to have. We still had a pumpkin patch this year. In our first year, we had, due to COVID restrictions, we had to limit it to 8 events with time slots. But we welcomed 1,500 people this year for our first year's pumpkin patch,
which was awesome.
Yeah, and sold all of our pumpkins. So for us, like it's been a crazy first year in business, but it's been absolutely amazing, and the community has been so supportive.
Yeah, it was a crazy first year. I mean, coming from, I ran a hotel. We researched for a long time as we were, working. All of our waking hours were spent, YouTube
We're just learning how to grow vegetables, even like we're not farmers. Like
Yeah.
we've always had a passion for growing, flowers and stuff like that. And we were spoiled in the South to be able to plant the first week of May and still have flowers in the end of October.
Yeah, patio weather.
Yeah, so we were really naive, I think, even in our planning when we got up here. We had frost at the end of June and frost in the beginning of September, right? So if you have an 80-day growing season, it really limits the crops that you're able to grow. So we're all self-taught. We learned everything through a couple of good influencers like J.M. Forche. His Market Gardener book is really what introduced us into gardening and started our philosophy of how we wanted to grow. And then the no-till growers has been huge for us. We've learned so much from them. Jesse Frost, he's got a great book out, The Living Soil, now too, that I'm in the process of reading now that it's a bit of our slow time. And
I think the social media community too, like the community in this area is just amazing. Like just being able to chat with people and see other people's posts and what's working for them in this area has been awesome.
And where to find supplies
Yeah.
and stuff too, right? Because up here we are very limited with supplies, as I'm sure you can relate.
Like compost, just trying to track down some compost, like quality compost.
Yeah, we thought coming up to farm country that there'd be
no
endless
problem.
amounts of good quality compost, and then we get up here and we couldn't find it anywhere. And actually, you know, another farm in the area, Feel Good Farms, has been amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan and Isabel, and they actually got us in touch with somebody with some great quality compost, and we actually have it shipped in from Manitoulin Island.
Okay.
So you know, it's pricey because obviously shipping is pricing at this in this time as well, right? But it's good quality stuff, and we know where it's coming from.
We've seen the impact.
Yeah, and we saw the results this year in the garden over not having it year one. And some beds this year that we put more compost in than others, and definitely way better quality product, less disease problems, less mold problems. And it's just the two of us. So
yeah,
we have no employees. We had one employee this summer, which was a babysitter who took care of our kids, a local farmer's daughter.
Well, I did farm tours.
Well, Lisa did farm tours.
So I really wanted to bring families here and see what we're doing, and just be able to have that one-on-one with animals and the land, and be able to go pick a carrot with a little one, and like bring the city kids out here to really experience the farm. And it went amazing. I had a wait list.
It was something we didn't expect. Like there was one or two people who had reached out and said, hey, can we come see the farm? And it was like, oh, it's just a balance, right? Because your time is so valuable and you have so much work to do. But one thing we really want to do is just have an open door policy, and we really want to teach people what we're learning and show them that, hey, listen, we're two city folk that knew absolutely nothing 2.5 years ago, and now here we are, you know, doing a market garden. We fed 25 families last year, delivered to their door fresh produce. You know, welcoming 1,500 people to the pumpkin patch who got to also see the gardens and learn about no-till practices and regenerative agriculture, and how the farmyard animals that we have, the pigs, and how they fit into our philosophy. We use them for tilling the ground, so we're not using machinery. The chickens go in, they fertilize and scratch up the ground for us. The bunnies are great for manure. Yeah. And then we got ducks, which they're just fun. But all of our pets, you know, even the pigs, they're mini pigs. So
they're manageable right now.
Yeah, they're very manageable. So kids aren't so intimidated to interact with them and stuff. And you know, we've done a virtual school tour due to COVID. So, and we really look forward to opening that up to the schools once they start doing tours again, and just having kids come out and getting their hands in the soil and learning about where their food comes from, and just tasting the difference, right? Like I'm sure you can relate. Anybody can taste the difference between what you're buying in the grocery store that's traveled for days on trucks and was picked when it shouldn't have been picked, to vegetables that you're getting, you know, from down the road, right?
That were picked yesterday.
Yeah, like we delivered our stuff within 36 hours of being picked. Like
that was also due to not having zero storage. Like we pulled off the unthinkable this past year.
Yeah, like
it was amazing.
We learned a lot of valuable lessons, and we learned a lot of lessons the hard way. And I think that if you really want to be in this lifestyle, you can't get beat up. You really have to just push through.
You got to find solutions, I guess. I don't know.
I think we've done everything 3 different ways, at least. We've built 2 chicken houses. We've built 2 pig barns.
Well, you do it the first time and then you realize, okay, this was way off. But now you know, and you just adapt and you keep making things better. And
we underestimated how much work it would be harvesting all of the vegetables and washing and processing them and packaging them.
Carrots, man.
Yeah, I mean,
oh man.
Every night delivery day, it was an all-nighter.
I literally had my mom, here the one time we were doing a harvest, and so this is actually, we forgot to mention, so my parents own the property. So that's kind of how we got here. Is my dad works out of the US, so he's there in the winter and then usually here in the summer, which makes it really difficult to manage 170 acres when you're 10 hours away. So he had been asking, I have two brothers, they've been asking us kids, somebody needs to move to the farm. And
it's a beautiful piece of property and all this farmland that's not
gorgeous.
being used, right? So
And that's the thing too. So being able to move here with the intent of, providing, starting a homestead, but also this, business and stuff. Anyway, so I've completely forgot where I was
I'm not sure.
going. I don't know either. Oh, my parents. So how we got here was this is my dad, like my parents' farm. Yeah, we finally decided we were going to pull the trigger. And yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
I think you were saying your mom was there.
Yeah. So anyway, that's
Thank
why
God.
my parents like lived with us during COVID and everything,
Okay.
and
Right.
as they were going back and forth, so they were here a lot. So my mom got to see. I mean, this is their home, but we literally had just trays of lettuce, trying to dry everything for delivery for the next day. So
Our living room acted as a
drying
cool
room, yeah.
walk-in fridge with the air conditioner cranked inside the living room and the doors closed and everything laid out so we could pack everything in here. So we just didn't have the space to do it.
Yeah. So as we grow and we, we're able to invest more money each year, hopefully this year is the year of the wash and pack station. We're super excited about, and hopefully, we actually were able to get a little bit of funding last year to help us put in the greenhouse tunnels. We have two 50-foot caterpillar tunnels on top of the market garden. So that was super helpful in being able to bring those in. So SNAP funding, which is the program that we went through. So we're hoping to get a little bit more funding this year. It really helps for them to meet the cost at 50%. And actually, as we're growing, it actually makes it achievable.
It makes it achievable. Yeah. Like we had to put in a new well this year because with all of the produce growing, like the one well that was here was just a 2-inch pipe, and it was just a matter of time before we went to turn on the tap and it was dry.
Yeah.
So there's a huge cost to putting in a well, $13,000, right? So the grant was able to assist with some of that cost. And without that, we wouldn't have been able to grow for sure. This year, we're adding another 2 caterpillar tunnels. So I guess we haven't really talked about what our setup is as well. So right now, our market garden consists of 30 beds with a traditional market style 30-inch by 50 feet. And then we have 2 caterpillar tunnels that went in last year. That was our first time ever growing with tunnels. So that was a whole new learning curve as well. But those tunnels each consist 4 market beds of the same size. So we have another 8 beds in total there. And then we've got a greenhouse off in the back that was built by the previous, it's a homemade greenhouse that was built by the previous owners. Gorgeous building. It's about 30 years old. And it has 4 permanent beds inside of that, which are about 1.5 feet by 20 feet. Very small. She did tomato sales. And every spring she would just sell tomato plants. So she did all of her starts inside of this greenhouse. There's a wood stove in there that we're able to heat it with a furnace that blows. And we're really interested now that we've kind of I wouldn't say mastered, but we have a handle somewhat of the summer season growing. We really want to grow outside of that and push our boundaries with that. And, we're kind of looking at the domes that you guys have. So we look forward to the opportunity to come and check out your dome.
For sure.
And hear your story as well and how it's been working for you. I've been following on your social media and I saw that you had some challenges with heat and stuff. And I'd love to have that conversation with you because I don't understand how they can grow vegetables in Alaska, but yet you're having a hard time here doing it, right? Yeah. So we were really interested in that because we would really like to be growing more vegetables outside of the summer season, maybe not in a CSA model because those structures are not exactly cheap, but maybe down the road someday, right? But definitely we would like to get comfortable with growing inside of them and be able to provide for ourselves more fresh vegetables.
And hopefully more of a revenue stream to be able to do, a possible spring CSA and a fall CSA and what that looks like. And
I think we'll be at the spring CSA next year. Now that we have 4 tunnels,
we're going to do a run of it this year anyway, without selling it, and just sell it to, local families and stuff like that at farm stands or whatever. But yeah, and then we're trying the fall one too. So
Yeah.
We'll see how
Yeah,
that
we're
goes.
trying spring and fall crops, but we're not selling them because we're
Yeah,
not planting
we're
on
not.
success.
Yeah. An
This is all
experiment.
trial.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of, we did meat chickens last year. So we did 80.
Yeah, we did 80 meat chickens, which was an adventure.
Yes. Have you guys done meat chickens at all?
No, because they
You
live in
can't
the
have
city.
chickens in
Yeah.
the
Right.
city.
Yeah.
But you were thinking about quail, right? Did
We
I
were.
see?
Yeah. We
Yes.
were looking at some people had quail, and quail's not explicitly disallowed. So,
Oh.
A little push the boundaries.
Yeah.
well, the
Cool.
rules are there as a guidance, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta
Do you
kinda-
have good neighbors?
That's the key.
We have pretty understanding neighbors, considering the amount of work we did in the backyard, and no one really said
Yeah.
anything.
It's beautiful, by the way. I love what you guys have done.
Oh, it's a work in progress, and thanks. It was a lot of work. Like thankfully, like,
Building all the beds and
for a lot of that know-how, I don't have a lot of it. Her father helped so much with like the whole foundation, the big pad that we built where the dome actually rests on,
Yeah.
and then getting that all set up, and then building the whole structure itself was a lot of her family, which is involved in construction. Like I was trying to keep ahead of them on the blueprints to know what was the next step so they could be doing it, but they were like I need to be building right now. Let's go.
Wow,
And then,
nice.
I'm out of
Nice.
screws, and then I'm running to the store to get more screws because we use them
Yeah.
at this place and that place. But yeah,
Your role sounds a lot like my role in those kind of projects.
Yeah.
Just go do this, go do that.
yeah, just trying to wield the chaos a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
But
So Lisa's dad is very handy as well.
Yeah.
So when he
Yeah.
is here,
Yeah.
that's when we get a lot of the bigger projects done.
Right,
And he
yeah.
operates the tractor for anything that needs to be moved with the tractor. I have no tractor
No.
privileges at all,
yeah,
shall we say.
Yeah, I mean, some of the bigger equipment that my dad has limits, but we're lucky enough. Like we have,
And rightfully so.
Yeah,
Like I
we
have
have
no
no
experience
idea.
on that equipment. Like I'm a
Yeah.
city guy. Plowing
you
our
let you
400
drive it,
yeah.
steer it for
plowing our
path.
400-foot driveway was a big enough task for me these last 2 winters. Just
Yeah.
learning how to do that. So
yeah,
Yeah, it's a huge learning curve, but not only moving, out to the boonies where you kind of rely on yourself a lot of times. It's been quite a learning curve. I mean, having the wood furnace going and adapting to that and having to feed that constantly now. And,
yeah.
Living in the city, you never have to work for your heat. Out here, especially as far north as we are, it's a whole different.
Well, even
ballgame.
just sourcing wood. Like I don't know if it's
Yeah.
always been a problem, but like it's been a problem this year just getting a load of wood because we go by the big trees. So just even trying to get that, we didn't get that until
It
the
was
fall of
delayed
this
and
year.
it
Yeah.
was just-
So then you got to cut all that and you got to split all that and you got to move all that and stack all that. I mean, this lifestyle is definitely achievable for anyone that is really passionate and really wants to do it.
And you guys are doing
go
it
ahead.
full time?
Yeah. So, well, we both have jobs
Okay.
as well. Like, so I
Just
work
recent,
year round.
Yeah.
But Lisa just started a job for the winter time, part-time, just to bring in some extra income that we can throw into the business because for the last 3 years, we've been throwing way more money into the business than we're bringing in,
Yeah.
which is to be expected. Obviously, to build a business, it takes money to do it. But we didn't anticipate the inflated cost of a lot of the things that we've had to purchase, such as wood and stuff. Like,
especially
Yeah.
in the last couple of years.
well, that's just it.
The
Like
lumber.
2x4s went from $250 to $12 a piece, right?
Yeah.
And when you're building fencing for your animals and you're building structures, you don't have a choice. Like you
Yep.
got to buy the wood. So that definitely ate up bigger chunks of the budget and then, forces you to reevaluate and prioritize what needs to be done ahead of time.
Mhm.
But, even in the summer, you're up at 4:30 in the morning and you're going to bed at 10:30 at night. And in the winter, you're going out at -39 in the morning to do the animals and stuff. But we really enjoy it. We truly enjoy it. It's the best decision we ever could have made. to have this time with our kids and to be able to teach our kids as well.
Mhm.
You know, our 4-year-old goes out and gets eggs with Lisa with the chickens. All they're both involved.
River,
Our
oh my
daughter,
gosh.
18 months, she's feeding the baby chicks in our living room right now
Yeah,
every
so
morning.
you can probably hear we have 4 chickens, baby chicks in the living room right now, and the dog's snoring. I guess. But yeah, I mean, we never thought that, you know, we would.
Yeah, when we met 10 years ago, never would we have anticipated being where we are today. Like,
But at the same time, I mean, both of us always had a pull, I think, to Northern Ontario. We always tried to get away every single year and come up here.
yeah, our vacation was always to the north every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So there was always this pull to, you know, we were always intrigued by living off the land and being self-sustainable. So I think once we were, you know, working and, you know, starting a family, it was like, yeah, and this isn't what we want to do forever.
You know, it's funny, we quit our jobs because of this, you know, the 70-hour work weeks and the 80-hour work weeks. And then we come up here to this lifestyle. And I think we do 120-hour work weeks, but we enjoy it. That's the difference, right? Like, it's rewarding. And yeah, we're not paying somebody else to raise our children. And
Yeah. Well, it all comes down to what the value really is. A lot of times we get caught up in the dollar value, say you earn in a salary or what you work. And you're saying, like, yeah, you're doing way more work, but you're getting something that's more enriching to you and your life in general, which is, if it's a higher quality of life by virtue of that, then you're really getting more value, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, hands down. To be able to work for yourself is just the end game, right? Like, to not rely on somebody else for a paycheck.
Yeah, like the business that, you know, our business that we did last year is definitely less than what one of our salaries would have been at our previous job, like by a lot. Like, we're talking a huge hit, right? But also your priorities change as well, right? So, you know, like, I never had a beard.
I haven't had a
20
haircut.
For 20 years, I was clean shaven. I had to be for work, right? Like, this is like rebellious almost, right? But like, and the hair growing long, I don't have to worry about getting a haircut. I got nobody to impress at work, you know?
Yeah, there isn't an image that we have to uphold anymore. So, you know, I don't.
Less stress too. Like, it's just so much more enjoyable. We enjoy life more now. We can appreciate the things that we have more because we're not always so on the go and running here and running there. Like, now, you know, town, we need something. It's a 25-minute drive. So, you know, you're really prioritizing your stuff, and you're no longer getting a Tim Hortons every morning and every night and maybe at lunch, right? So you're saving in that aspect as well, right? So
it's definitely been a lifestyle change.
Yeah, but we have lots of things planned. You know, this is just the start.
Yeah, we figured it would take about 5 years by the time we, you know, invest each year and we continue to grow. And I think we're actually on target to actually be able to do it pretty much full time at year 4. We're on year 3 now, so we're hoping that by next year, with the income, with everything, we should be able to live off of the income. But it's hard to say. We will probably end up getting jobs just in the winter because there's always more money that can be put into the business, right?
Yeah, the more money we have, I think the faster that we can expand. Because we really have a lot of plans. We really still plan on being a year-round destination. We planted 500 Christmas trees 3 years ago, with the hopes that, you know, families will be able to come and cut down a Christmas tree and have that experience, you know, and roast marshmallows around the fire and maybe go for a skate around the farm. Maybe a visit with the big guy himself, if we can talk him into stopping by. And you know, and then welcoming families every fall for the pumpkin patch. I think we were able to start that tradition this year with a lot of families, and we've really geared ourselves towards the younger generation. So, you know, really the kids 8 and under. We really feel that that's a demographic that there's lacking for activities for them to do. And if we can offer something year round for that age group, then I think that's great. You know, Leisure Farms does a great job of providing fall festivities as well. However, you know, they're kind of geared towards the older kids. So I think it's great that everybody can still work together, and still there's customers for everybody, and everybody can still succeed and offer something different as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, we come from Niagara, where obviously the season is longer in October. It's more enjoyable, I would say. You don't have, you're not looking at snow coming.
Yeah, you're
in.
going to the pumpkin patch in short
But-
sleeves and
Yeah.
shorts and sandals, as opposed to like here with a parka or a heavy raincoat. Like
Boots.
we got our butts handed to us in October this year. Every weekend rained for our events. We had one
Yeah.
day out of 8 days that was sunny.
But the people in this area, they literally just put their boots on and came out. And
Yeah, like
they're
we were in
"We
tears
don't
almost
care."
every morning, like worried about how all these unhappy customers that are going to show up and want their money back and stuff, right? And it was so amazing
They
to
were
see
like,
all
"No,
these families
this is
showing
it.
up.
This is what we wanted."
Yeah,
Like, this
rain
is-
boots and rain suits, and
in reality, that is the farm. Like when it rains, it's wet. Like
Yeah.
it's muddy.
like that's just the way it goes. So I mean, and I don't know, maybe it's just the kind of person that lives up here. I mean, I guess you have to embrace all the seasons. You don't really have a choice. And the people that came out wanted their kids in the mud, and it was just the best. Yeah, it was the
It was
best.
kind of neat seeing 50 cars lined down the road, and all the parents at the trunks taking off all the rain suits and all the rubber boots, loading the kids back in the car, right? But the smiles on the kids' faces,
Oh,
just having
yeah.
a space to just go
They
and
didn't want to
stop.
leave. It
And I
was
think
awesome.
especially now too, like there's not a lot of interaction in between kids with everything that's gone on, right? So be able to
Yeah.
provide a place for all of these younger kids to even just have the experience of other younger kids and bond. And
Well, and to be honest, we can't, at that time, we were getting into another wave. So it was, you could only, I think you can still only have 100 people gathered.
it's less than that,
I'm
right?
not sure,
Way
but
less than that right now. It's 20 people.
there was the vaccination was just starting. So there was a lot of, some of it was dads coming with their kids that have a visitation.
Yeah,
that
who don't have
can't
a
go
passport. They
anywhere
can't go anywhere with their
to
kids.
bring their kids. So
Yeah.
it was like, this was an opportunity for them to spend time in an
just
outdoor setting.
a
that's
place to go.
safe. A lot of people didn't wear masks. It was like really freeing because it's like we're on 170 acres. Just keep your distance and live your life. And it was amazing in a time that was that still is kind of scary. It was just nice to have like a sense of normalcy for a little bit. It was nice.
For sure.
Well,
Even
that's
our kids were
definitely
shocked.
well, that's definitely one of the things that we really liked when we looked at your page was there was definitely an emphasis on a community outreach, right? And I get the impression that you have the sense that there is sort of fertile soil in a sense to lay the seeds of a community built around this sort of lifestyle, right? And like you're
Absolutely.
exactly. So one thing I would wonder, I guess, is in your interactions with the community, what's the best way to reach the community, say, and what's the best way to sort of really sell the idea that this is an enriching lifestyle and also a benefit to the person who's choosing to partake in it, despite the fact that there's obvious sacrifices of time, physical labor, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I think for us, the way we were able to reach the people was all through social media. Lisa handles all of that stuff. She does a fantastic job with that. And really the relationships that we've built with people on social media, one thing that we really wanted to do with our sense of community is to try to give back in any way that we can. And so for the fall events this year, we had vendors come up. So small businesses that we interact with on social media who may not necessarily have a place to sell their products. So we opened up that space. We had 3 vendors every day, different vendors as well.
It was a lot of moms with side hustles that are doing like awesome crafts and stuff. So it was awesome to give them a space. Hey, come in, make a whole bunch of stuff and come on out and
yeah, we charge nothing for it.
Yeah,
it was just an opportunity for them to come and give some exposure. And I think the way that we really try to connect with the people when they're here and show them this lifestyle is you really have to see it to understand it.
Right.
And we really spent the time for the people that were interested to take the time and explain to them kind of why we did things the way we did things. Like when you come to our farm, you'll see that, we have 170 acres, yet our market garden is all lined along our driveway. Up right on the edge of that is all of our animals. After that is then our caterpillar tunnels. So everything is close to home. Everything is under the big spotlight. All the animals are under the big spotlight. So that feds off the predators at nighttime. And then just teaching them our philosophies and what we've learned about growing the vegetables and the no-till philosophy and why it's believed to be so much better by not breaking up the organisms in the soil. And for us, because we like to try so many different things, we can show people the difference. So look, this was,
cover crop.
This was cover cropped. This wasn't cover cropped. Look at the difference in the beds and how well they're producing. We experimented with living pathways this year, which is something that Jesse Frost started to do. So we did 1/3 of the market garden with living pathways just to see how that worked. It adds more biodiversity to that soil. It's nice. It was really nice. It's nicer to walk on.
Yeah.
It's nicer to kneel on than sitting in a pile of mud when you need to harvest. But you also need to find a way to maintain it. And you need to find a way to keep it out of the beds. Like we had to go to Home Depot and buy a special 14-inch wide lawnmower, right? Because we have 18-inch pathways that would just fit through there. And we're dealing with wild grass. Like we're dealing with field grass and it just keeps coming back. So trying to keep that out of the beds, but we definitely saw an impact on it. Like there was definitely success in the crops. They did much better.
Going back to the community though, I would say it's been a lot. I mean, it's been all social media, obviously, because we can't, the in-person has been slim to none. But as you start to acquire, so, you find a Kijiji ad, you buy some chickens off of somebody. Well, now you're best buds because I'm asking you all my chicken questions. Honestly, there is one, Restless Ravens, Amy, she's amazing. The first time I got chickens, I bought from her off of a Kijiji ad, and we've kept in contact. She's out in the field, and she is a wealth of knowledge and is so willing to share.
Yeah, she offers foraging workshops.
Yeah, like just such an amazing connection. So don't
the farm with the walk-in cooler.
Yeah, Farm Ohalami, you guys did actually we just knew them from social media, following them. We connected with them a little bit, and
they offered us space in their walk-in fridge, like to store some of our produce.
Amazing.
Like so, just the community is just unreal. Like honestly, we wouldn't be able to be where we are right now without the sense of community.
And we had a lot of actually farmers in the area come and visit us in the fall, bring their kids out. I think they were just, what's going on over here? Let's check it out.
And a lot of people excited to see something happening with the property again, because the people who used to own the property used to farm. They lived here for 30 years. Their kids were raised here. They had 1,000 chickens.
I would see OG regenerative agriculture. They were. Yeah. She did compost all herself.
Yeah. Making all of her own soil and stuff.
Before it was a thing. Before a lot of people were doing it, she had all of it going on here, which is really cool. They have pastures, cutouts between the rock and stuff on the property where they grazed and stuff. So it's really cool.
Yeah, having the old farmers come by and just tell us that she would be very proud and very happy with what we're doing with the property. That really motivates you. Yeah. You know what I mean? The fall festival, if nothing else, was more of a reassurance for us that we were doing the right thing and that there's lots of support here for us. And really motivated us to want to do even more this year.
Well, and that's kind of like with us too, getting involved with talking to people who are doing what you guys are doing. Like that's what I keep asking myself is how do we sort of fuel basically businesses like you guys who are doing this? Because when I look at sustainability and you want to talk about, say, polluting the environment, does it make sense to be shipping vegetables or say fruit from South America all year round? It's like you can go and buy an avocado in February. It's like, do you know anywhere you can get an avocado to grow in Canada in February? Well, no.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what's the input we're putting in there with the amount of fuel we're burning to do that? So why don't we have people in our community like you guys
Yeah.
making use of the wonderful soil and earth that we got here
Yeah.
and growing good food for the community that lives here? Like, it makes perfect sense to me. And I always want to try to think about how do we encourage people to help, because it really what sustains sort of businesses like this, because you guys know, compared to, like, say, a supersized farm that can sort of offset a lot of their costs, right, that you don't have the privilege of doing, you know, they can deliver a cheaper product to market consistently and everything like that, but you're taking a decline in quality. And also there's the effect of shipping it so far and all that. So I always want to try to figure out, how do we make local businesses more sustainable? How do we encourage, like, the idea to me is you have to sell the community that it's worth investing in the community. Like, it's very important here in Sudbury, this land we have, these farmers we have who are, you know, so like that's
and for us, I think, like, I'm a kind of an analytic person, and I'm a strategic person. And I think for us, the way that we're aiming to really drive that message is to get to the kids, right? If you can get to that younger generation, start teaching them now. We all know as parents, our kids motivate us in directions, right? So if we can get the kids here on a school trip and we can get them excited about the farm and excited about growing vegetables, and then they go home and they're excited to tell mom and dad, hey, I went to this farm today. It was the best carrot I ever had in my life. Mom, dad, I want to grow carrots. You know what I mean? I really feel that our secret angle is the kids. And I really hope that we can, if we can't correct the generation that's in front of us right now, then let's try to correct the next generation so that we are on the path to getting better and getting more locally sourced food, and getting rid of that expectation of having an avocado in December and January.
Well,
like, why aren't the grocery stores even offering that?
Well,
why aren't the grocery stores just promoting local produce?
Well, we might be actually sorry. Well,
I want to see hundreds of farms like this in this area. Like, that's the goal. If there's hundreds of farms just even feeding 25, 50 families, why aren't we looking at,
we could be feeding the big cities?
There's, you know, we don't need to be bringing in produce, you know, we have land, like, we can grow it all here. So hopefully within the next few years, hopefully we'll have some sort of a business model, hopefully that other farms can look to offering year round.
Because the more of us that do this, the more it's going to push the government to make changes, because ultimately the government needs to make some changes, not just with rules with shipping and produce and stuff like that, but also with incentives for people to do this sort of stuff. A lot of the grants and incentives are all based on large scale farming, and that's not necessarily absolutely. And all these pesticides and doing all this damage to the earth, instead of they say, you know, they want to be better for the environment and everything, but there's no initiatives for people like us or you guys or anybody who wants to do a small farm the right way. There's no incentives for them to do that. So I really think that the more people that get on board with this, which we've seen in the last couple of years, is huge growth. If there's one good thing that came from the pandemic, it's that there's been a spike of interest in people who want to be more self-sufficient and know where their stuff is coming from, so it's reliable. You know, right before we hopped on the call tonight, our CSA went on sale to the public today, and we had this email come through that said, oh my God, I'm so thankful that I found your CSA box today. What did she say? I feel a sense of security now. Right? She knows now that her produce is locked in for the entire summer, and she doesn't have to worry about walking into No Frills and seeing an empty shelf. Or that green pepper is going to cost her $4.50 because food inflation is 10% this year. Like, I think people are really going to start to wake up as the food prices continue to rise, as the shelves continue to be empty. And then there's going to be more support for little farms like ourselves. And then hopefully more people want to do it.
So for me, to be honest, in order to sell the CSA and sell the tickets and get our name out there, Facebook Marketplace. So you have to be careful, you know, in like buy and sell groups. So I'm able to reach random people sitting there scrolling, just looking for a good deal, and they see this veggie delivery. And I think that's the difference with us, is we're willing to bring our vegetables to your door. You don't have to drive an hour to come pick them up. We literally harvest them and they're coming right to you. So when I have this ad on Facebook Marketplace, it's veggie box delivery to your door. Like, let me bring my farm fresh goodies to you. You literally don't have to do anything. Send me the e-transfer and it's done. We'll be there. So I think a lot of people, we're reaching people that aren't going to the farmer's market, that are like, yeah, I want this. And as that's starting to grow, and we saw, the people coming to, the events and stuff, and they see what we're doing, and the farm tours was a really good kickstart. Tons of moms start talking, and there's a thing that everybody needs to do. That's really all it took, and it took off.
I think farms need to be adaptive though, and be more convenient for customers as well, in order for customers to want it.
Yeah, I mean, today's customer has Amazon Prime and is looking for that to come to their door.
I think there's a lot of people in the city who want to eat better produce and want to know where their produce is coming from, but it's not necessarily convenient for them. They may not have the time to spend 45 minutes to drive out to the farm to pick up their vegetables. They may not be able to go to the Sudbury Farmers Market on Wednesdays or Saturdays because they work on that day of the week, and there's only one day of the week where they can go and get fresh local farm produce. So I think that, for us, identifying that, it was like, okay, how can we make it more convenient? Well, let's do this. Instead of having a pickup location in the Walmart parking lot or something, let's bring it to their door. We delivered all of I left at 4:30 in the morning to go and deliver our bags to North Bay.
And then I packed up the kids.
And she would head to Sudbury, and everybody had their vegetables to their door by 9 o'clock in the morning. So then, before they leave to go to work, even, they could unload it, put it in the fridge, and you can't get any more convenient than that, I guess.
I wonder if like how you guys mentioned how you had a time where you had a market where you invited a bunch of different vendors out on your property and did something like that. I wonder if there's a way to sort of get a group of, say, producers like yourselves together to provide a marketplace like that, maybe in the digital space where it's, say, more permanent, where you guys are sort of working together in a sense, and also co-marketing and everything else, where it's like, what you guys are doing isn't exactly what the other vendors are doing, but
for sure.
So there is one now called Clickford, and that's kind of essentially what they do. So they have a digital platform. Everything is kind of done online. And then there's, I want to say locations, there's pickup locations, but I want to say they have maybe 15 partners now.
Oh, time.
Okay.
There's at least 15 different local farms that they're working with and offering different products from each farm. Meat, like bison, there's everything you can think of. Soaps, teas, frozen meals, kind of like what Papa Flock was doing.
The problem is you're adding another middleman, though, and that's the problem that I see. So they need a cut. You have to pay them, right? So now the price of an already expensive, because it does cost, it costs us a lot of money to produce this.
Yeah, you really have to sell the consumer that the product is that much better, right? Because the consumer walking into No Frills and seeing a bag of carrots for $2.99, well, then why are you selling them for $7.99?
Yeah.
Right? Well, because there's a middleman, for one, so that everybody's got to get their cut. But, we also can't produce good quality food for that price. That stuff is not good for you. That's why it's so cheap, right?
It's actually sort of funny because it's the wrong view in a way, where it's like they think what you're charging is expensive. It's like, no, you're paying for a very poor quality food, and that's why it's exactly so little.
It's not comparable.
It's an inverse value, right? They're like, well, the money is too much. It's like, well, no, this is the quality that really you should be paying for with something that you're putting into your body, right?
For sure. And we really have to understand that we can't please everybody as well.
Yes.
We had one customer last year that second delivery of the CSA, messaged us and said, I can get twice the amount of produce for this money at No Frills.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think she'd never done it
I don't
before.
think she understood necessarily the
wasn't
model,
for
what she
her.
was getting. And
she's on a budget. She needs what she needs, and she's very organized. It's not as flexible And I was like, hold on, like our heart, so the tunnels were delayed in going up, which meant everything was delayed.
No,
in
it
going
wasn't
in the
that. It
tunnels,
wasn't
and
that though. It was she was comparing the
yeah.
amount of money
Mhm.
that she was spending to the amount of vegetables that she could get at No Frills.
Mhm.
And you can't compare it. Like
Yeah.
it's two different completely things. So we were happy to refund her money. You know, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Some people don't have the budget, the, you know, privilege to be able to afford. But I hope if more people start doing it,
Then it's going to bring the cost down, right?
Yeah.
And then it's going to bring the cost down for everybody, which
Yeah.
will go on to the consumer as well.
absolutely.
And most importantly, I think the message is getting out to everyone that you can grow your own food.
Yep.
You don't necessarily have to go to a farm. You can
Yeah,
have your own backyard garden and be successful and have healthy, nutritious food.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to sell in a way because you're selling people on sort of hard work in a sense, but there is a big reward. It's and like, I mean, you're trying to adjust in a sense the value structure, right? It's like it's not just the money you pay, it's also the quality you get. And like I think to
But
some
it's also
degree,
yeah, I
right?
mean, it's investing in food security at
It
the
is an
end of the
investment.
day, right? Like
Yep.
which is so much bigger. What happens? We're seeing it now. What happens when those trucks aren't coming?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Or the
like,
seed shortages that we saw last year,
oh yeah,
Yeah.
where the seed companies were putting holds and not even selling seed.
And the fertilizer shortages for the big farms.
yeah,
Well, I'm happy about that.
yeah.
Well, it's good relative to say what you're doing in the sense of what you're doing, but it's also bad because in the sense that like the way that the current food market is set up, that's
Correct.
Oh,
that
yeah.
points
100%.
out the obvious flaw in it, right? And that's why to me it makes perfect sense to switch away from a model where it's like if one little thing goes wrong, the whole market collapses. It's like
Yeah,
you need to have sustainability, and sustainability is locality, right? And
Yeah.
Absolutely.
because if you have people in the community working with the food, there's an inherent investment in community.
Mhm.
And like
Yep.
it's a positive feedback loop the way I see it, right? If the people in the
For sure.
community get their food from the community, they know the farmers, they're invested in the farmers because it humanizes the whole experience more. And
For sure.
Yeah.
that enriches it kind of right there.
And like we have an open invitation for our members as well. They can come hang out at the farm at any time. You know, even if they want to come lead, I'm all for it. Like absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can always use the help.
Yeah, and we had a special VIP event. So we did a pre-grand opening for them for the fall event. So
Mhm.
just our CSA members could come and bring their families. And you know, we've got benches all around and stuff. So in the summer, we hope that we're planning on having a market stand at the end of the property on
Mhm.
Saturdays. And we may look at bringing some vendors in as well for that. Because behind our property is probably 250 cottages
Ton.
that
Tons of
are just
cottages.
full of people all summer. So the mistake that we made the first year when we were here was we put a farm stand up at the end of the road. We spent every morning hauling some produce out to the edge of the road and then hauling it back at the edge of the road every night because nobody knew we were here. So what we really want to do is just, you know, there's only so much time and so many hours. We're making it one day, Saturday. It's a very busy day. Most of the people are here for the cottage already. We'll open for a limited number of hours. Everybody can come buy the produce and then go home and then hopefully have like kind of our own little market in this area because there is no food market in our little town here, right? So if we can create a little
small, like
Smen's
just
space,
for cottages,
yeah.
right? That just sell any excess that we have.
We have plans to have a little coffee shop down the road at some point here, like a little trailer with coffee where people just come out of the farm in the morning. Like all these people that live around here just come to the farm,
There's so many
sit there,
people
have a
walk
cup of
their
coffee.
dogs or go for walks.
Yeah.
Like, that we love being able to
We should have been born
cottage.
100 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I think in a sort of ironic sense, though, it's like all the things that sort of have gone on in the past couple of years just really lays in how much there's a call going back to the old ways in a sense, where it's like, yeah, okay, the privileges we have in the modern world are really great, but we got to look at, you know, where does all this stuff come from? We're at a point now where we can look back on where we've been coming from and where it's going.
Yeah.
Right.
And we can
Yeah.
think, you know, all right, now we've been living this kind of unconsciously, and it's been really relative to any point in history, a blessing. And we got to look at it
For
now and
sure.
be like, all right, if we want to keep any little shred of this here, we have to start living consciously. And that means getting involved in what you're doing. It doesn't mean you try to vote for someone to go and do something on your behalf. It's like, no, you go in and get your hands dirty in the community, you know, plant the
Absolutely.
seeds, raise the animals, start the markets. Like, and like you're saying, it makes perfect sense. You guys start another little market, someone else has another little, let's have 100 little farmers
Yes.
markets. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You should be buying what you need from the guy down the road, or the girl down the road. Like,
Yeah.
that's where it should be coming from. And yeah, we live in a globalized world, which is amazing, but we don't need to.
But if you've got
need all
herbal,
of
if you've got
that.
somebody here who makes herbal remedies, and you've
Yeah.
got somebody here who makes soap, and you got somebody here who raises meat,
Yeah.
and you got somebody here who grows vegetables, then you don't need Walmart.
Right.
Nope.
You can get everything right here from people who are right next door to you, right? Like, and I
Well,
really feel that we need to get back in that direction.
Well, it's I that's why I think now where people are looking at, we're sort of on the precipice of looking at stepping into an even more digital world, or kind of trying going back to a material world in a sense, right? And it's like, do we want to have all of our social interactions filtered through a screen? Or like I look at this, like I love doing this podcast in a way to reach out to people to talk to you guys, but eventually it would be like, you know, we'd like to see each other probably in the real world and
Yeah.
have
sure.
a real friendship relationship and build a real community. That's the real, like, we're mistaking the sort of the medium for what the actual experience is meant to be. It's like social media is meant to promote socialization, which is getting together in the real world where we actually exist and doing stuff together. And once you start doing that, it just becomes so clear that you've already built a community and you want to promote and propagate that community. So you just keep putting it, you're invested in it because you're getting something out of it. It's a self-worth kind of thing.
I think that this has really divided everybody into two categories. You know, it's either you are going to be more digital now because you went to the office every day and now you just live on a computer every day, or you're really that person who was like, you know what, I really need to wake up and see what's going on and start thinking about how I can take care of myself, right?
Yep.
I think that our country is never going to have been so divided.
No, it's
as what we will be at the end of this year.
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things where even though it's contention and there's lots of that energy is also sort of a propellant that leads you sort of into the future. And if things, I try to be optimistic or hopeful, where I think, you know, I think people are smart as individuals, and I think we've been living through a time where people got to really reflect and evaluate. I think it's almost like you can't avoid it. And I think if people start doing that, I have faith that we're going to start tracking in a more positive direction. And I think that's going to be more people involved in their community, because what it gives you when you get more involved in your community at a local level is more autonomy as an individual. More, you feel like you have more effect in your community because you actively do. And you
have a sense of purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's you have a structure that you live in, you have a sense of purpose, you know exactly what you're trying to do, which is enrich your family, your community, and the quality of life of all the people around you. It's a total positive mindset. And it's like it answers a lot of the questions, like, you know, what are we here? What are we doing? It's like, well, that's a good idea. Try that.
Yeah. It's amazing, like just seeing on social media how many people have come out of their shell and have tried to start their own thing and live their dream and just aim for their goals and try to achieve them. And how many people have got excited about growing? Like, seed shortages would never have happened if people weren't excited about growing or had that interest to grow. So they all bought these seeds. Now, how do we get them to grow?
Yep.
Right? Like,
yeah,
I love what you guys are doing. I think that this is fantastic. And I think that, you know, the more, as you said, the more of us that get together and build a sense of community and wake people up and give them more options and let them see that there are more options. I think we're all going to be in a far better place. And if not us, and at least our kids.
Yeah. Well, and I that's a positive note. If we want to start kind of closing this up, is like, every time we go and talk to reach out to another producer, another farmer, we keep getting this same sort of reverb, this same echo we're putting out, we're getting back, in the sense that there's definitely people going towards looking at the land, looking at sustainability, looking at building communities, and reunifying people in a way, because we've been so fragmented and so scattered. And
Absolutely.
And talking to you and talking to the people we interviewed last, and I keep getting that, and I have faith that we're heading in the kind of the right direction. And I think it's
listening to your past interviews reaffirm that for me too, right? It's nice to know that we're not alone. We're not the only people thinking this way, that there is that market. There are more people that want to be doing this, right?
Yeah, you can bet on people. It's like you can have faith on people and bet on people, which really is a silver lining to any rain cloud.
Yeah, especially in these times, for sure.
Yeah. Well,
thank you. So what are your goals? If you don't mind me asking, what are your guys' goals? What are you looking to move on with?
Well, so I find it hard to figure out what to do exactly, but for concrete things right now, I think we're definitely focused on trying to get as much food out of the little plot that we got here, and grow as much as we can for that, because it just gives us more food security. And the stuff that we can't get from that, we definitely want to do locally sourced. Like we locally sourced pretty much all of our meat this year. We'll continue to do that. We'll try to start sourcing our eggs more locally. Because what we're trying to do basically is invest in the community of the people who are producing this stuff, right? So what we can't produce, we want to invest in for people who are producing. But beyond that, we're definitely trying to just grow a lot more on our lot. And a lot of the reason we haven't grown as much as we'd like to is partly not knowing how to store the food, like recapturing that art of, like, you know, how to properly store and preserve food.
Yeah.
And then
maybe we can share ideas, because that's something we're trying to learn as well. We tried canning last year for the first time, so we've never done that before. So food saving is definitely a big thing for us as well, because if we want to grow, we need to find better ways to save these crops. So I definitely love to bounce some ideas back and forth down the road.
And that makes me think too, because the last people we just interviewed there, the Sudbury City gardeners there, they were saying the same exact thing, that they needed to have like a better job of storing their food. And thinking about these different crop sharings and all this other kind of stuff, it makes me think, if you get a couple people together and say, all right, this weekend we're going over to so-and-so's house, and they got, like, you know, a whole pile of tomatoes and stuff, and we're all just going to boil and cut tomatoes or whatever it is for the whole day. And then next weekend, maybe we're going over to the next person's house. And, you know, I think that's what it's going to take, is for the investment in the community. It's going to be, you know, we're not going to have a lot of money, especially if the economy keeps spiraling like it is. The real currency you're going to have is putting work in. And so I think
food. Is the food you're growing. That's going to be the currency for sure.
And I think that'll be part of, like, learn how to process together. So definitely, I think when we're looking at doing more of our preserving, I think we're going to make an effort to communicate better with people who are doing the same thing. And hopefully, you know, whatever we learn in preserving, we can pass on, or maybe we can work together or something like that. I think making efforts in that direction is what builds the community, right? It's the real concrete interaction of doing that. And it's
absolutely. I love that idea too. Like, that is such a fantastic idea. Going from farm to farm to farm. Like some of the smaller farms out here do that with chickens, right? So like a couple people will go to one person's farm, and we'll, you know, harvest the chickens all day, right? And then the next weekend we'll go and harvest 25 chickens at the next person's house. So I think if we could expand upon that, I think that's a fantastic idea. Because we all have different skills too. So if we can all be together in one place and all see each other's skills, what a great learning opportunity.
Well, and I think that's sort of what we're in an effort trying to do with this podcast thing here. And the more I keep talking to people, the more I find that I think we're all kind of thinking the same way. And I think what we'll try to do is make sure we try to stay in contact with each other, and maybe start talking about that kind of thing. Like, you know, figure out, you know, if you guys need a little help doing something, you know, we'll pop out on a weekend and help you guys out. And
I love that.
And start fostering that kind of a community. And because we got to bet on each other. That's what we're going to have to start doing.
Absolutely. And I love that us farmers on the outside have an ally in the city.
Well, that's what I want, because like I think if you want to have like a strong city, and you look at a place like Sudbury that's surrounded by farmland, that's probably what really made this city even possible. So
Right.
it's like, if we want this city to stick around, it's like, let's start investing in the farmers. They're here. There's lots of farmland here. There's lots of people with the urge to grow and foster that life. And I think it's just like my recent idea is, it's really just selling the idea that it's worth it to the people, like the individual who's existing in the current marketplace, to sort of step out and invest in the local marketplace. And it's a hard sell because of the money thing, but
I think that people really need to start investing in farms, most importantly too, because farmland is disappearing.
Yep.
And with the price of land and the value of land, it's very hard when a farmer gets a check in front of his face to say, listen, you know, my crop failure was last year. I didn't make any money. The market is low right now. Here's somebody coming willing to come and buy my property for 20 times what I paid for it. Right. And if there's not enough people investing in that farm, then there's no motivation for that farmer to keep that farm.
Look what happened to Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's almost totally owned by people who are brand new to the country.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep.
And then the other half of Saskatchewan is starving cattle right now.
Yep.
From what I'm reading, because all the grains are stuck on trains.
Yep.
Oh yeah, by Monday by tomorrow morning they're gonna have no feed. Yeah,
well,
like these big cattle farms with like 20,000 cows.
There's all kinds of grain we'll grow here and then sell off over across the ocean, and then they'll sell us back grain. It's like, why are we sending grain that way and then back again? What sense is that? Like, well, it's a good business deal. It's like, well, if you're going to tell us that business is killing the world and you're going to send grain to one place and back again, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, it's just silly.
My philosophy is we shouldn't be importing anything that we have here.
No. Yeah. And you look at the whole like Canada as a landmass, the resources we have here, it's not a shortage of resources. It's a
not at all
resources.
Yeah, not at all. We have a shortage of nice warm weather, and that's about it.
Yeah. But you know what? This was really, really great. And I feel like we could talk to you guys all night, but we do have to kind of close this up. And it's awesome, because I know that because we have a conversation that could keep going on, I think we will continue to talk. And I think that's really the idea that we're driving at with this. And
love it.
Great
keep doing
talking to you guys.
This is awesome.
I'm glad what you guys are doing. I love the community outreach. I love that you guys are coming out of your comfort zone, doing what you were doing and diving into something new, being bold, taking a chance, betting on life, betting on yourselves. Yeah. And I think that's really the idea we're getting at when we're talking to people like you with this podcast. We want to reach out to people like you because every person we talk to that's doing what you guys do proves to another person who's not doing it, they can do it.
Just do it. You can do it.
Absolutely.
If you want it bad enough, absolutely you can do it. For sure. We did it.
Yep. I'm betting on people.
Better yet, we need all of you to do it.
Yep.
And you guys said you guys have your CSA open now. People could order that
today.
Yeah, so it just went on sale today. I think we're probably sitting at about 40% sold right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully by the end of the week, knock on wood, we will be sold out.
Yeah, it usually sells out pretty quick. Like once the ball gets rolling, and we definitely expect to sell out for sure. It's just a matter of time and people seeing the ad. And
we've had the email closed for the last hour or two, so I'm sure when we open it up, there's going to be a whole bunch there.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, guys. It was such a pleasure.
And before we get out of here too, just where anyone can reach you who's listening to this right now. So wherever you can be reached. Yeah,
so we've got a website, Old McDonald's Family Farm.ca. We're on Instagram and Facebook as well, Old McDonald's Family Farm. And if anybody ever has any questions about anything,
Google us.
We by no means are experts, and we may not even know the answer to your question, but if we don't, we'll do our best to find it for you too. So
okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks so much, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a great night.